A storm raged inside the United Nations General Assembly on Monday, not of wind and rain, but of clashing interests and shifting alliances. On the third anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, what should have been a show of unity against war turned into a battleground of resolutions, amendments, and last-minute political maneuvering that exposed deep fractures within the Western alliance. Two competing resolutions, one spearheaded by Ukraine and European nations, the other by the United States, laid bare the diverging strategies of Kyiv's backers. The Ukrainian-led resolution, backed by European nations, reaffirmed Ukraine's territorial integrity and demanded accountability for war crimes. The US-led draft, in contrast, avoided calling Russia an aggressor, opting for a more neutral appeal for peace. Russian Ambassador Vasily Nebenzia called Washington's approach a good move, an unusual moment of alignment between Moscow and Washington that left European allies visibly uneasy. But then came the twist. In an extraordinary turn of events, the US abstained from its own resolution after European amendments hardened its language. That allowed Ukraine and its allies to claim a diplomatic victory, while Washington found itself at odds with its European partners.
American colleagues have seen for themselves that the road to peace in Ukraine will not be an easy one, and there will be many who will try to make sure that the peace doesn't come for as long as possible. But this shouldn't stop us. We appreciated the initiative of the United States, and we do hope that this will be followed by other new initiatives, which will finally set aside the party of war in Europe.
At the Security Council later in the day, the US resolution, stripped of anti-Russian rhetoric, sailed through without amendments, securing 10 votes in favor, 0 against, and 5 abstentions. France and Britain, wielding veto power, could have blocked it, but didn't. Maria Zakharova, Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman, mocked their apparent shift in stance, pointing out that they had pushed for amendments in the General Assembly but refrained from doing so at the Security Council. Did they change their views on the crisis in just 180 seconds? She taunted on Telegram, pointing out that the distance between the General Assembly and the Security Council is just a 3-minute walk. Or do they simply have a mask for every occasion? With the Security Council's resolution now in place, Russia framed it as a step toward a negotiated settlement. Nebenzia, Russia's envoy to the UN, called it a starting point for further efforts to bring the war to an end, an interpretation that stood in stark contrast to Ukraine's demands for full sovereignty and war crimes prosecutions.
It is clear that the militarizing Europe today is the only player internationally which wants the war to continue and is resisting any realistic initiatives to settle the conflict. We call upon everyone who genuinely wants lasting peace in Ukraine to not allow the expired Kyiv princeling and his puppeteers, not allow them thwart the efforts undertaken by Russia, and the United States. I thank you.
The UN showdown revealed cracks in the transatlantic alliance. For Russia, it was a diplomatic opening to exploit. And for Washington, it was an uncomfortable balancing act, pushing a peace resolution that even Moscow found acceptable while distancing itself from European allies on a day meant to mark solidarity with Ukraine.